Hey everyone. Welcome to Broadband Deployment News. I will be talking today about a webinar that the FCC is going to be doing specifically for tribal entities on their Broadband Data Collection Fabric. Be right back. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So hopefully I won't be freezing up here. This laptop yesterday when I was doing the broadcast, I noticed it was very sluggish and I was assuming that a Windows update was downloading. I think it's still downloading a massive Windows update because I'm still noticing that. So if I buffer or freeze or something, I apologize for that. Also, there's a big thunderstorm about to roll through here, so it might be interesting. This will be quick today. I just wanted to talk about the fact that the FCC has announced that they're going to be doing this technical assistance webinar on their Broadband Data Collection Fabric, the Broadband Data Collection System. And this is specifically for tribal filers, leaders, so tribal governments. And I'm not sure how different it's going to be, but I wanted to point this out in case somebody, like a tribal entity is watching this or finds this later. So again, I don't know how different it's going to be, or if you are not a tribal entity, but you're some other entity like just a service provider anywhere else in the country maybe that needs to upload your subscriber data, not just subscriber data, but your coverage area into the fabric. I will go ahead and post a link to the prior webinar that was done that the FCC did that was not specifically for tribal entities. So again, I don't know what the difference is on this one. So just in case you find this, whether you're a tribal entity or not, I will post a link to the prior webinar. There's not a link yet available for the upcoming webinar, but there is an address where you can request. Sounds like you can request registration for it, which was not something that was the case on the original one. So in the original one, you could go to the site and sign up for it, but here you can't do that. So here you see FCC announces technical assistance webinar on the Broadband Data Collection System for tribal filers and leaders. The FCC's Broadband Data Task Force and Office of Native Affairs and Policy will hold a virtual webinar on its new Broadband Data Collection System on July 26th, 2022, starting at 2 p.m. That's Eastern Time. The webinar will review the BDC system for tribal leaders, tribal broadband internet service providers, and other tribal filers who will submit broadband availability data in the inaugural BDC filing window and answer participant questions. So there will be a part of the webinar where they're going to show the system and show how to kind of navigate in that, how to upload your data, and then they'll take questions. So you would definitely, if you have questions in your tribal entity, you definitely want to attend that to where you could maybe ask questions and get an answer. Now what this is all about, in case you're not aware, is the FCC is putting together some new broadband maps. And these maps are supposed to be down to the address level, unlike the maps that they have now, which are based on a census block, where it could be literally only one home or business in that census block could be served with broadband greater than 25 by 3 or at least 25 by 3, and they would consider that census block served. In this case, it's going to be address by address, so they are requiring that every internet service provider upload their broadband coverage data, all the homes and businesses that they pass, and the window for that was June 30th up through September 1st. So tribal entities also have to do this if they are providing broadband service now. Or tribal entities can also upload their information. If they have information about where coverage is, that can be done as well. So you see here representatives of tribal broadband internet service providers and IT managers, as well as tribal government leaders and telecommunications regulators are particularly encouraged to attend. And it mentions here facilities-based internet service providers, including tribal providers, are required to file granular data, again that's down to the address level, in the BDC system on where they make mass market broadband internet access service available. And that started on June 30th and ends on September 1st. And you've got to get this in there. They're not going to, it's very unlikely you'll get a waiver, and it's very unlikely that they're going to extend the date on this. Authorized tribal governmental entities may also submit verified broadband availability data for their areas. So if you're in a tribal area and you know specifically areas that don't have broadband access, some that do, that kind of information, you can upload that into the fabric. Let's see what else here. So here's the schedule. So the schedule for the webinar will be 2 to 3 p.m. on that date for a welcome overview of the Broadband Data Collection System and the Fabric Data Technical Assistance, and then they're going to take questions for 30 minutes after that, 3:30 to 4. So it's a 2-hour webinar with 30 minutes of questions. So here's where it's a little different. So if you want to register for this, to register to participate remotely, I don't know if that means you could actually go and watch it. Interested parties should send an email with name, contact information, and tribal affiliation, if any, to bdcwebinar@fcc.gov. And then you'll also be able to submit any questions during that webinar through the WebEx platform, but it also says you can submit them here in advance by going to that same address or emailing that same address your question, bdcwebinar@fcc.gov. So the webinar will be recorded and made available on the FCC's website and YouTube channel following the event. The webinar will be webcast with open captioning at fcc.gov/live. Now, if you go to that address right now, you don't see the webinar. You don't see this webinar. You see the next live meeting, which is going to be the FCC's next open meeting. So, but on this date at that time, you can go to fcc.gov.live and you can watch it there. So I'm assuming that means you don't need to register. You can watch it there, and there'll be closed captioning. However, I don't think you'll have an opportunity to ask questions if you watch it there. I don't remember that being the case. So you would probably want to try to do this on the WebEx platform if you have questions. So again, I don't, as I look through this and what they say they're going to be covering, I don't see anything that's really different from what they covered in the webinar previously that wasn't specifically for tribal governments and tribal entities and tribal filers, so to speak. So I'm not sure if there's a difference. It maybe there will be. Maybe they'll be able to cover in depth more questions from tribal entities this way. And the other thing, there could be a few little nuances here that might be important. So, but again, you may have run across this video looking for more information about the broadband data collection process. And like I said, I will go ahead and link to the original webinar. That could also help tribal entities as well. But if you are not, that would help you as they went through that process. And I'll also link to this document here if there's any interest in reading through this. So thanks for joining me. I just want to make sure that everybody knew this was available. I'll post a few resources at the end of this video, and I will see you next time for Broadband Deployment News. Thanks. Bye-bye.